There's a moment in everyone's life when you look in the mirror and ask, who am I really? Not some empty philosophical question, but a question about the fragile boundary between good and evil within us. You think you know yourself? Think that no matter what situation you're in, you'll always be the good person you are today? Today I'm going to tell you a story. A story about how one book shattered everything I believed about human nature. And perhaps it will do the same to you. That book is called The Lucifer Effect by Philip Zimbardo. It doesn't just ask why good people turn evil. It points straight at you and says, that could be you. Sounds uncomfortable, doesn't it? But don't give up just yet. Because within that darkness, there's still light. And that light is your power to choose. Have you ever stolen anything? Don't rush to deny it. A pen from the office that no one noticed. Your neighbor's Wi-Fi without asking. Or simply telling a small lie to avoid trouble. These things seem harmless. But that's exactly how evil begins. Not from some grand decision, but from tiny steps that seem insignificant. Zimbardo tells us about Ivan Chip Frederick, an ordinary American boy. Loved baseball, loved mom's apple pie. But then he went to Abu Ghraib, the infamous prison in Iraq, where unspeakable horrors took place. The most terrifying part? Frederick wasn't born a monster. He was just a regular person, with average intelligence, stable mind. But Abu Ghraib transformed him into something else, something even he didn't recognize. And if you think you're different, you might be fooling yourself. Do you believe personality is fixed? That you'll always be the same person you are today, wherever you are, with whoever? Think about it. How do you behave when you're with friends? And how do you act when facing children? Or when meeting someone with authority? Are you really the same person in all those situations? The answer is no. We're not solid rocks. We're like grains of sand on the shore, constantly shifting with each wave of circumstance. Imagine you're in Milgram's experiment. You're the teacher. Your job is to punish the student every time they answer wrong by increasing the electric shock intensity from gentle to 450 volts, potentially lethal levels. The student screams, begs you to stop, but the man in the white coat tells you to continue, and you listen. 65% of participants did exactly this. They weren't born cruel, just ordinary people like you and me, swept away by the situation and pressure from authority. But Zimbardo didn't just theorize. He created one of psychology's most controversial experiments. Picture this: 24 college students, clean-cut middle class, psychologically sound, thrown into a mock prison environment, half randomly assigned as guards. The other half became prisoners. The guards got uniforms, batons, and mirrored sunglasses, the kind that hide your eyes and your humanity. The prisoners, stripped, deloused, given numbers instead of names. It didn't take long for the psychological theater to become a nightmare. The guards, these supposedly normal, decent guys, began relishing their power. They forced prisoners to urinate in buckets, stripped them naked, locked them in dark closets as punishment. One guard earned the nickname John Wayne for his particularly brutal methods. All of this happened within just 6 days. 6 days. That's all it took for Zimbardo to shut down the experiment. The takeaway? Under the right conditions, your morals can crumble faster than a sandcastle in a hurricane. You like to think you'd act differently in the same situation. But the truth is, you don't really know, do you? So what tips the scales? Why do people like Frederick or the Stanford guards descend into madness? Zimbardo points to several toxic ingredients. First, blind obedience to authority, whether it's a person, institution, or set of rules. Authority can compel even the most righteous to commit unspeakable acts. Remember Milgram's participants? They weren't inherently evil. They were just following orders, believing they were contributing to something greater. This obedience didn't start with Milgram, and it didn't end there. Look at Jonestown for proof. Jim Jones started as a charismatic leader with utopian ideals, gradually transformed into a tyrant. His followers didn't see it coming. They trusted him, obeyed him, even when he handed them cups of cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. Over 900 people died that day, not because they were evil, but because they were obedient. Second, the loss of personal responsibility. Imagine you're back in Milgram's experiment, your hand hovering over that dial, cranking up the voltage as the learner screams. But hey, you got nothing to worry about, right? The guy in the lab coat said he'd take full responsibility. So it's not really on you, if things go wrong. This is called de-individuation. It's why people in mobs wear masks, why soldiers wear uniforms, why cyberbullies hide behind anonymous usernames. Once you feel your actions can be traced back to you, it's alarmingly easy to cast off moral constraints. Third, dehumanization. How do you get someone to commit atrocities against fellow humans? Easy. You convince them those others aren't really human at all. Zimbardo highlights a chilling study by Albert Bandura. Students were asked to supervise and punish another group. The catch? The punishers overheard the other group described as animals and savages. Unsurprisingly, the punishments were far harsher, compared to another group described as perceptive and understanding. This twisted logic fueled atrocities throughout history. You like to think this belongs to the distant past, or exists only in the hearts of those other people, the evil ones. But look at your world today. How often do you hear people described as animals, scum vermin? The moment you stop seeing someone as fully human is the moment you open the door to your own dark potential. But let's not drown in despair. If Zimbardo's journey teaches us anything, it's that you still have a choice. You might be walking a tightrope over the abyss, but that doesn't mean you have to fall. The capacity for evil may be within you, but so is a capacity for heroism. What separates a hero from everyone else? It's not superhuman strength or unshakable confidence. It's the willingness to act when others stand by. Take Wesley Autry, the subway hero of New York. When a man suffering from a seizure fell onto the subway tracks, Autry didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for someone else to take the lead. He leaped down, pressed the man into the trench between the rails, and shielded him as the train thundered overhead. While others watched in horror, frozen in place, Autry risked his own life to save a stranger. This is the essence of heroism. Not grand gestures on a battlefield, but simple, decisive actions in everyday moments. It's about putting others before yourself, about choosing to do the right thing even when it's terrifying. The key is awareness, recognizing that you carry within you the seeds of both good and evil. We are walking contradictions, capable of soaring acts of heroism and plunging depths of cruelty. The choice between these extremes isn't something that happens once. It's a constant struggle, a daily battle. One moment you might be the hero. The next, under different circumstances, you could be the villain. But knowing this gives you power. Power to resist, to question, to choose. So here we are at the end of our journey through the darkest corners of human psychology. But let me leave you with this. The choice between good and evil isn't some grand, singular event. It's a series of small, everyday decisions. Every time you stand up for what's right, every time you resist the pull of the crowd, every time you question authority and choose to see the humanity in others, you're pushing back against the forces that seek to transform you. It's not easy. It's not always clear. But it's necessary. Because in the end, your life story isn't written by the situations you find yourself in. It's written by how you choose to respond to them. So choose wisely. Be the hero, not the monster. And when you find yourself at that moral crossroads, as we all inevitably do, take a deep breath, look within, and remember, you have the power to choose. The light is always there, waiting for you to reach for it. The question is, will you?